Ginger, and this is my husband, Sal.
And you're very, very prominent on Facebook. I've seen you. Yes, you are. You're a warrior mum.
Okay.
Cheers, everybody. Right, let's hear your story. Tell us what happened.
So our oldest child, we have 4 children. The oldest child, Landry, he was born in 2003. And, you know, we were new parents. We'd only been married a year before I got pregnant. So, you know, we didn't really know much of anything. And vaccinated him, Hep B, vitamin K at the hospital. He was severely jaundiced after that. Had to be put under the lights and all that kind of stuff.
Were both of you pro-vax? Describe yourself.
We just we weren't pro or against. We really just were clueless. You know, we really didn't even think to question it. You know, there was no distrust of anybody. You know, the pediatrician that we were using actually went to our church, and you know, why would we think to question anything? You know, that she was.
Same as us all then.
Yeah.
I did see some things. Oprah had something on TV to question, as well as some other things that kept popping and rearing its head, and that caused me to question. And I would have a conversation with her, but where we went wrong is we just went straight to the doctor that issues it, and it was a very nice doctor. Said, "Hell, you know, there's proof against that," and you know, took
Proof against what?
Against that the vaccines cause autism, and spent 45 minutes, very cordial, very nice, wasn't yelling at our face. We think, oh, that's great, the doctor really cares about us. And we just ended. He said, look, we can start vaccinating right now, see how it goes, and if you want to delay or do something or stop, you can. So like, okay.
So Landry's tongue was tied, so the frenulum on the bottom was connected all the way to the tip, so he could not stick his tongue out. So therefore, I couldn't nurse him, which was a really big issue for me because I wanted to nurse him, and he just could not extract milk, basically. So long story short, the pediatrician noticed the tongue tie, but she is what I call like an orbit. She was just like, oh, he's so cute, and oh, look, his tongue's tied, and that usually, you know, will tear on its own, nothing to worry about. And so meanwhile, we had him on soy formula, which I now know is like straight poison. You know, I mean, that was just the worst thing he could have ever gotten, but we didn't know. And so he was on soy formula, which made him severely constipated. And the pediatrician, who happens to be married to this day to a gastroenterologist, she told us to put corn syrup in his every bottle. So my kid was just a gut kid. I mean, you know, when I think about it now, it's like, are you kidding me? You know, like, really? You know, but we stupidly, that's what he was, I mean, so he was on soy formula with corn syrup in every bottle. He was having orange liquid stool, because that's what happens when your gut is just ruined, you know. So when we hit him with the vaccines, he just could not detox. He just couldn't. He couldn't. So
high-pitched squeals, slapping his ears.
Every time he got vaccinated, he did the arch the back, the hands up like this, and the real high-pitched screaming. And of course, oh, that's just all cute and normal, you know. There was never any alarm or anything about that. And at his 9-month set of vaccines, he had the screaming for 40 minutes. You know, urinated on everything, high-pitched screaming, arch the back. We just couldn't calm him down. So it was all the way till we got home. He was still screaming, and from that moment on, he started doing these really odd things. Like, he would sit almost like a little zombie. I mean, he had this real blank stare, and he would do this wrist and ankles like this just for hours. I mean, you know, the grandparents and all that, oh, he's so well behaved. And I'm like, well, he has no personality. I mean, he's just in a fog. You know, he would just sit and do this. And
so when you went back to the pediatrician and said, look what happened to my child?
Well, at that point, we just didn't go back. Basically, he's never gotten it in the
They get away with it, these guys.
Well,
we don't go back.
Well, you're right. You're right. You are right.
But they need to be told.
They do.
We have confronted one of the pediatricians before, but again, it's just...
Well, what happens is you get into, okay, we're going to fix this mode, especially us. We were like, okay, well, what do we got to do now? You know, and...
They're telling you to file charges for the corn syrup.
Yeah. Because that was really his issue.
They're a very influential pediatrician that's very well connected in the community. It was kind of at that point we were just having the attitude of let's do whatever it takes. I mean, the therapist said, hey, your child may have autism, and once we got over the denial, and like, no, my first child, my son, does not have autism, you're wrong. Once I got past that point and realized, okay, what are we going to do about this, then we were just of the mentality, I don't care if I have to file bankruptcy, use every resource, money, whatever we need to do to treat our child. And we went to Dr. Cave.
We
Baton
have
Rouge.
just mad respect for her.
We
love
were with
her.
her, yeah.
She just has, she's just such a kind person. She really has a heart for these kids. She's met with the FDA. Like, she's just in it. So, you know, she's just a very compassionate person. She's the one that did all the testing, you know, so my son tested, he had glutamorphin and examorphin in his urine, so that means he wasn't digesting the gluten and the casein, and it was hooking to examorphin that your body makes, and so that's why he was like stoned all the time, with that glazed look.
And soy too, of course.
He had major soy allergy, of course, because his gut was a mess, and we were feeding him soy formula, so that was just, so we, you know, pulled all that out of his diet, and we started chelating him. We used to go once a week. We did this for 2 years. Sal would take off of work on Thursday. We would go to her office. We were like family, with, you know, at her office. And so we were testing his urine after the chelation, and he had mercury and aluminum, shocker, that was just pouring. I was just pouring out. It's like you would to see the lab reports, which we probably should have brought, but it was just across the page. You know, it's like you would think that this person would not have lived, you know, to have that much mercury.
Actually, Dr. Cave did say
crazy,
that. She says that's a pretty big miracle that, because when she looked at his vaccine schedule, because we stopped at 9 months, because then we started questioning more and noticing, I mean, thank God we didn't. He didn't do the MMR, so we thought, hey, but then,
I mean, I don't know what we'd be looking at.
She looked at it and she goes, well, it's a miracle between, because we told her the whole story of the soy formula and corn syrup and screwing up his gut, and she obviously tested his gut, and she said it's a miracle that he's not like dead or not worse than what he already is. So,
but as we chelated him and changed his diet, and he started like coming back to us, so he stopped the weird behaviors and started interacting, and by age 6 he had technically lost his diagnosis, which we did, you know, testing with the school system and all that stuff, and he had been receiving OT and speech and special ed teacher that came to my house twice a week, so he no longer qualified for any of that. But to us as his parents, he still had some quirky things, like he was still a very literal thinker and just odd, some little odd things. So we just kept going. We did a year of homeopathy. I mean, pretty much anything you can name, we've tried.
I think most parents will say
and you know, we're fortunate. We feel very fortunate that the things worked. I mean, I've heard of parents that they've done everything we've done and their child has not gotten any better. You know, my heart just breaks for them. That, you know, the amount of money and time and everything that you spend. And so anyway, he is now almost 13. Next week. And he is...
Are we going through puberty yet?
Oh, Lord.
Have fun, yeah.
And we have him going to a school where he's learning logic and rhetoric and how to successfully debate and argue, which that's always fun.
All the logical fallacies. We have used Dr. Wakefield as an example. There's a book of 50 logic fallacies that he's learning. The first one was an ad hominem attack. You know, that's where instead of arguing a real legitimate response to an argument, you just, you know, oh, you're a quack. So we've certainly used Dr. Wakefield as an example to show him that that's not really a true way to dialogue about anything.
Our kids are so well educated on the whole pharma and anti-vaccines that whenever they watch a commercial, they crack up laughing. They're like, who in the world would ever take this kind of stuff? Or why would anybody ever vaccinate once they see the truth? You know, so
and another interesting thing, so we have 3 more kids that we had after him. He was our first one. None of them are vaccinated. The youngest is even another boy, you know, so they are perfectly healthy, neurotypical, you know, even to the point where there's a virus or something that's, you know, that's going around that kids are thrown up for 10 days, and my kids are like maybe one weird bowel movement, you know, like they're just, when their immune systems are intact, it's just amazing that everybody thinks they're so advanced, and it's like, well, they're not really advanced, they're like how they're supposed to be, you know. So, you know, but anyway.
Well, thank you for telling the story.
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, it's the same story that we're hearing over and over again, isn't it, Carl?
It is, yeah.
I mean,
And we love you guys. We are so thankful that y'all have left your families and doing what you're doing. So.
Getting in the forefront, in the front lines. I mean, you know, anything that we could do to spread the word, one child at a time. You know, just to help.
I really appreciate it. Everyone on the way has been absolutely fantastic. They feed us, and they just had a load of organic apples just in there, things like that. And everyone knows they're giving us really healthy food, and
Yes.
it's just
Gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free.
Yeah.
She makes fantastic brownies that are gluten-free, dairy-free. You should make some.
Yeah, well.
Yes.
In fact,
In
has
England
brought
and everywhere else.
every person together, which
Yes.
is, I mean, we were just discussing this on the way over here, just Sal and I, how Dell, I mean, who could have the perfect personality for this besides him? I mean, he can insult someone, or not insult, but, you know, I was
Bring
thinking
truth
about,
to them and correct their
In
wrong
such
thinking in such a complimentary way.
gracious way, like when he did the Q&A with the Houston, you know, and the mayor. I was like, man, he's just telling the mayor, and the next thing you know, he's inviting them all to come. You know, just a perfect.
Or the protesting crowd that he sits there educating them, basically
Yeah.
telling them they're wrong, but they're like invited to the movie and they welcome
I mean, just
him.
the perfect personality for what
It's
he's
a very,
doing.
very
I
good
mean, you know,
gift.
you can't tell me
It's
that
timely.
God is not in this.
Oh.
You know, I mean, he just is. And,
which is God is
you
our
know,
boss.
yes.
right.
And Polly, of course, loving on all the moms, and you know, I mean, every time I watch a video, I'm crying. She's hugging another mom.
I mean,
So,
everything that y'all
you
are
know,
doing,
yeah.
it's
just
changing lives, helping people, getting truth out there when it's trying to be suppressed. It's just
there's
it's
amazing
invaluable.
people. It's very unfortunate that we have all come together and met this way, but there are really some just amazing parents.